What knowledge might save your life one day? I remember reading in a Reddit post similar to this, that if you can't do a pull-up you probably won't have the strength to pull yourself up off a ledge, and that has stuck with me ever since. Know how to spot a stroke? An easy way to remember is the acronym FAST. Face is one side of your face droopy? Can you fully smile? Arms, can you hold your arms out straight? Speech, are you unintentionally slurring your words? Time, call an ambulance right away. Time is of the essence. If you're being pulled out to sea by a current, swim parallel to the shore while letting yourself be carried out until you're out of its grip, rather than waste your energy fighting against it. I read this possibly on another thread or even on this one. If you smell something close to fish or even urine, it's possible you may have an electrical fire. Electrical fires tend to smell like fish, and when exposed to high heat, urine, or maybe your cat had a snack and decided to pee on the carpet. And if you smell rotten eggs, it's natural gas. Get out immediately and call 911. Lock all your doors when you're in the house. No neighborhood is 100% safe. Funny story. Last year my parents went on vacation. I went to their house to mow the lawn or something. About 4 days into their trip, I pull up and the front door is wide open. Just the screen door was closed. I thought the house had been broken into. Turned out my dad forgot to shut the door. Best security tactic I've ever seen. No kidding. I work a night shift and was up at 3 AM watching TV. So all the lights in the living room were on. This is like a beacon for people looking to rob houses, as they think the owners left the lights on to go on vacation. Had some guy knock on my front door to see if anyone was home before he busted in. I then heard the handle jiggle. Needless to say, he was quite surprised when I responded along with 3 Great Danes. More than he bargained for, and he tried to play it off as he needed a ride into town. I live in a rural area and there isn't a neighbor within a quarter mile of me, let alone any sort of business. Wife called the cops, but he disappeared before they got there. If you're alone and start choking with nobody around to give you the Heimlich, you can give yourself the Heimlich by using the back of a chair, or similar objects like the sidearm of a couch or whatever. Forcefully throw your stomach over the back of the chair a few times. Try to mimic the motion of the Heimlich, push in above the belly button, then up. Kind of like a J motion. What won't kill you in Australia? The wildlife. What will kill you? Getting lost in the outback. If you're lost and out of fuel, stay with your vehicle. Move as little as possible during the day and stay in the shade. Conserve water. Rip off wing mirrors to shine at any search planes. You can drink your urine approx 1-3 times before your kidneys start to pack it in. This is absolute last resort. To be fair, the wildlife can also kill you. Polar bears have insane ADHD. If one is chasing you, intermittently drop clothing items like a hat or gloves. It will stop to sniff them. Normal prey animals don't shed whole pieces of themselves. The bear will be perplexed. The human version of the gecko tail trick. Very clever. If it's brown, lie down. If it's black, fight back. If it's white, good night. Seriously, brother-in-law was up in the Arctic. They are scary creatures from the minute they see you, out in the open. They see you as meat. In Australia you can always make calls to 000 regardless of whether you have signal credit. Your mobile will use any available network to connect you. In the US, this is also true of 911. If you are able to connect to any cell tower or Wi-Fi network from your phone, it doesn't matter if the phone even has a SIM. You're supposed to be able to contact 911. Likewise, if you're in Europe and you can't remember the emergency code, it's 112. In case you're wondering, call 911. It'll be picked up as an emergency number, and you'll be connected accordingly. If a canker sore in your mouth or on your tongue isn't healing in about 2 weeks, it might not be a canker sore. I'm going into surgery today, and they will likely remove 100% of my oral cancer because of early detection. Firefighter training. If there is a fire, crawl out of the building. Do not stand up to run. 1 or 2 breaths of smoke are enough to do major damage and require hospitalization. If you get out at all, it may be warm where you are crawling. But standing up can cook your skin and your lungs. The smoke at our level can be more than 600 degrees C, 1200 degree F. If you can't see and don't know the room layout, crawl with your legs in front of you, sliding on your A. Do not crawl face first, or you may take a dive down a staircase in the confusion. This reminds me, if you're caught in a river, you may be tempted to doggy paddle to save energy. But you want to turn your body as best you can to float on your back, so your feet are in the direction of the current. Your feet will take the impact of any submerged rocks, etc. And you can push away from them rather than getting a head or chest injury. If someone gets stabbed, do not take the knife out if possible. If it stays in, it acts as a plug to the hole and will reduce blood loss. Apply pressure around the wound as best as you can and call an ambulance. The instinct of wolves will only cause them to hunt you if they can intimidate you into fleeing from them. Standing your ground against a wolf pack will be terrifying, but will eventually cause them to bugger off. Tigers as well. Don't turn your eyes away from a tiger. There is a story of a boy that had to walk backwards for 3 hours back to his village being stalked by a tiger. The cost benefit of a prey animal even slightly hurting a tiger is not worth it. It could mean a death sentence in the wild. If someone threatens you with a gun or something and they want to move you to another location, your chance of dying goes up considerably if you agree to relocate. You've got to throw 'em off their rhythm. My father was an assistant DA who worked with homicide. He gave me this advice over and over. Years later, someone climbed in my car and threatens me with a gun. And I said no. Took the keys out and threw them. It wasn't a conscious decision. My dad had just hammered his advice in so hard that it switched on. The guy gets out without saying a word and runs. A friend was carjacked. Guy told her to start driving. So she did. Right into a cement pillar. Airbag hit the jacker and broke his arm. She ran into the store while he was disoriented. Kept hitting lock button on her key fob to keep him in the car until the cops showed up. Gun wasn't even loaded. Insurance elected to raise on her because of the accident, though. So that may not be the best way to handle it. If you're unsure about the movement of a tornado, put a straight object such as a tree or a street light in between you and the tornado. It'll make it way easier to see which way the tornado is moving. If the tornado appears to not be moving, it's coming right at you. This is the stuff that makes the hairs in the back of my neck stand up. I have never seen a tornado, but Jesus F. The thought of one coming straight at me is just so awesome and creepy. Don't ever stop performing CPR on a person until the EMTs take their body away. CPR doesn't wake up a person. It's to force blood to their brain to prevent brain death so that the EMTs can revive that person. And find a CPR buddy to switch with regularly. Even if they don't know CPR. Coach them through it. But if at all possible, don't do it alone. Why? Because it is super taxing and your arms will get tired and hurt really fast. And as said, you can't stop. I would add, don't stop CPR when the paramedics arrive. Keep going until they tell you they are ready to take over. Some of the kit takes a while to set up, so if you're doing it well, they will let you continue. A friend who grew up in a rough neighborhood taught me this one. If you're on a bus and robbers get on, you have a chance of not having your stuff taken or being bothered at all if you pretend to be asleep. For all that it's scary for the passengers when 1 or 2 FAs with guns climb on a bus. It's also stressful for the robbers. They have to keep their eyes on a lot of people at once to prevent anyone from calling the police, prevent the driver from signaling distress somehow, and prevent all passengers from reacting in dangerous ways. If you're asleep, that's one person less for a robber to manage. So they may not bother to wake you up and have another wild card to deal with, just to get your phone and wallet. If the robbers get on and every single passenger is asleep, they may decide not to bother at all, depending on how widely the bus driver is grinning at them and how warmly it welcomes them into its domain. If you've been carjacked and the carjacker tells you to just drive, take whatever chance you get to wreck. At minimum, you're getting emergency services involved, meaning it's more likely they'll be caught. And there's a chance you'll incapacitate or even kill the carjacker. Of course, there's also a chance that you might not survive. But if they are taking you to a second location, odds are you weren't going to come back anyway. If you're being choked, turning your head to the right or left will allow you to breathe. Go for the eyes. Furthermore, moaning "yes daddy" and winking at the attacker may give you the brief moment of confusion and shock you'll need to make that strike for the eyes. If you have to get out of a moving car, then put one foot down and take a step. Don't just jump out. This will reduce your speed immensely. Sure, you will fall over, but at a much reduced speed. A stuntman told me this. Don't drive behind a truck with an open back that is carrying materials, egg metal rods, logs, bricks etc. They can come loose and fly back at great speed, impaling the driver or inhabitant of the vehicle behind the truck. The old Final Destination life tip. If you're ever charged by a moose, get behind a tree. They have about a 10-inch blind spot and they'll lose you. Bears can climb trees, but have trouble running down hills as they gain too much speed. If you're being chased by a bear, head for a hill rather than up a tree. Or, better yet, know the signs of a bear and have bear spray if you know, like wandering around where there are bears. It's advised that outdoorsmen wear noisy little bells on their clothing so as not to startle the bears that aren't expecting them. Also to carry pepper spray with them in case of an encounter with a bear. It is also a good idea to watch out for fresh signs of bear activity. Outdoorsmen should recognize the difference between black bear and grizzly bear poop. Black bear poop is smaller and contains a lot of berry seeds and squirrel fur. Grizzly bear poop has little bells in it and smells like pepper spray. Swimming. No, seriously, if you live in a country with lots of rivers, lakes and bridges, swimming is rather important. Or even if you're in a completely landlocked area, it's still a great life skill to have in case you go to a pool or beach anywhere. Water can look both shallow and calm while being exactly none of those things. If you're being followed, quickly try and hug someone nearby and whisper in their ear the situation quickly. Most people will just pretend to know you to keep you safe. This is a good idea. Platypuses have venomous spurs on their legs. Married a woman like that one time. That water you're about to dive into might not be as deep as you think. If you're a pedestrian and crossing a street, if you can see the sun's reflection on the windshield of a car, there's a good chance the driver cannot see you. Direct pressure on bleeding is always the first step. If you notice a lack of small creatures or woodlands animals nearby, most fear human interaction, but you'll know they're there. But if it is noticeably empty, then you're likely in a predator kill zone. Similarly, if you see a lot of vultures circling, it can mean dead animal or predator animal cache. So be aware of this when you're in the outdoors. If you are in the wild and stumble upon a big heap of food and drink, don't consume it in one go very quickly because it could seriously shock your inside. If you are very hungry, this comment gave me the image of wandering through the woods and finding just a massive stockpile of moon pies and grape soda sitting in a heap against a random tree. And someone just hiking through the woods and deciding to eat the whole damn thing. Eating mysterious forest snacks is inadvisable for a whole heap of reasons. Not the least of which is the possibility of fairy kidnapping. P. If a power line falls down on the ground near you, it's safer to get away on only one foot, to avoid a high voltage difference between your feet, or shuffle your feet. Seeing it's much safer than tripping when trying to hop away. Better to drink water consistently throughout the day than drinking when thirsty. Army boot camp taught me this.